politics was put aside in the BC legislature, if only for this afternoon, as MLAs on both sides of the floor paid tribute to their leader and to each other's. It didn't take very long to get to the end of this week's short sitting, and today was a day for members to thank Premier Gordon Campbell and the NDP's Carol James. And as the leadership votes draw closer for both parties, the list of people wanting the top job is shrinking. A News legislature reporter Shachi Curl has the story.
If this scene looks familiar, it is. Same hotel room, same political supporters. The only difference? The Liberal leadership candidate bowing out of the race and throwing his support to a beaming George Abbott. Yesterday it was Moira Stillwell. Today, Vancouver Island candidate Ed Main.
To all of my supporters, I want to encourage you to support George Abbott. He is a good man, and he will make a great premier.
Main's loss is Abbott's gain, and he wasn't the only one picking up support. John Horgan, running to lead the NDP, added Cowichan MLA Bill Routley as a fourth so-called member of Horgan's heroes.
He cares about industry, but he cares about the environment, and I'm like-minded in that way.
Good news for one New Democrat, bad news for another. Harry Lawley suddenly pulling out of the race today. The problem, not a lack of support, but a lack of money.
My heart's definitely there, but the money and the resources are not. One has to raise at least $215,000. That isn't going to happen for me.
Another day of frantic machinations, of separating the contenders from the also-rans, of finding friends where you can get them. But for one lone Liberal candidate without any caucus support, widely speculated to be running last, the key to victory isn't who your buddies are, but whether you can deliver the vote.
People are still asking what are the mechanics involved in voting, so we're trying to get that information out.
9 days left for the Liberals, exactly 2 months left for the NDP. The legislature will be a very different place whenever these MLAs get back here.
And Shachi Curl joins us now with more. Shachi, did the MLAs actually get to finish the work they came back to the House to do?
Well, kind of, sort of, Hudson. They came back because by law the government had to bring in and debate a budget before the province could spend any more money. They did that. It happened on Tuesday, but the budget didn't pass. Instead, both sides agreed this morning to extend basically the government credit card, the spending plan, through the end of June. That's called supply, passing supply. Today also marked, as you mentioned, the last time the Premier stood in question period to respond to the opposition's questions. He got rousing applause from his side of the House for that, not so much from the NDP. And then both sides took some time out to honor Gordon Campbell as well as former NDP leader Carol James, who never was honored in the House when she resigned in December. Here's how that sounded.
She is certainly not the most controversial character to grace these halls. She doesn't exploit divisions. She doesn't shout or yell. She doesn't appeal to fear. It's just not her style. She has a basic common sense that made a lot of traditional political theater seem rather beside the point to her.
You know, a man once said that the rent you pay for the space you occupy on the face of this earth is service to your fellow men. Premier, you have paid your rent in spades, and I am proud to have served with you for the last 15 years.
Now, Hudson, I watched that speech live from the viewing gallery in the chamber, and there's a lot that Hansard camera doesn't pick up. We saw Rich Coleman deliver that speech for Campbell, and when he was done, there were a lot of tears. On the Liberal bench, Minister Mary McNeil was openly bawling. Ida Chung looked like she was very emotional, trying to hold in her tears. Kevin Kruger was spotted wiping away tears, and Coleman himself, who really has a very tough guy persona around the buildings, was also crying along with the Premier. Now, tomorrow we will have more from Campbell himself on his departure from politics and what he sees for BC in the years ahead coming up.
All right, you got a chance to sit down with him today. We'll watch for that tomorrow, Shachi. Thank you.
You're welcome.